Or red light. Or green light. Red light.
Red light.
light.
Why she got such long hair?
I don't know.
Nope, it still has to be moving. You're gonna die right here.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm dead.
You're. Yeah, I was gonna say, anyway. I'm pretty sure it has to be moving in a rhythm.
Da-da-da-dum. I remember when these movies came out, I was super young. I watched them as time went on, but there was some dark stuff in it that my parents attempted to shield me from. But I'll be dipped if this is not if this did not have quite the effect on me growing up. The Addams Family movies, at least the first two. So, first off, before we continue, there's several things I must mention. Number one, Raul Julia's Best Gomez. I don't know. It's just his energy, his facial reactions. Just he embodies, in my mind, what Gomez is. And yeah, I know that the new Wednesday series just came out, and I know that everybody is talking about the actor who's playing Thing is like the MVP, in which, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the dude does all himself, and the funny thing is, I've heard my friends talk about it, and they say Wednesday is pretty good. It's all right. It's not really anything to just like gush over or anything like that. But I know there's going to be people out there who do it. Also, these films have such, especially, I'll say this: the whole of the first one and the summer camp subplot of the second. If the entire second film was just about summer camp, and they came up with a better subplot, and they came up with a better plot for Fester, Gomez, and all of them, you could see it as, I don't know, there could have been something done. But, yeah, there's a whole, the whole deal with the summer camp one was just hilarious. And also the baby, which... Oh boy, it feels weird looking back on the whole Pubert Addams situation, and the whole deal with Achievement Hunter, and Gavin basically saying, "Oh no, there was an Addams Family kid named Pubert," and no one believed him. And then eventually, everyone was made aware of it. I think Jack was aware of it before the revelation was done. And everyone was like saying, "Oh, Gavin, you're so stupid. You're so stupid." And then it came out as like, "Oh no, Pubert. That's the." Then again, going back and talking about those clips, there's Ryan Haywood, and I don't want to think about that. So yeah, it's been a while since I've watched the Addams Family movies, and I think this will be a good refresher for me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the Addams Family movies by the Nostalgia Critic. Here we go. Every time.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold the outcast, the creepy and depraved, the bizarre creations not meant for the normal world. Embrace the twisted weirdness of freak show cinema.
It's interesting to think the Addams Family, the dark, twisted, morbid, disturbed, pretty much any depressing word you can think of, has more family-friendly representations than non-family friendly. They have 2 sitcoms, 2 children's comedies, an animated kids series, 2 if you count Scooby-Doo. Spoiler, they all did in that one. Several video games, and lots of kid-friendly merchandise. Like many, I was introduced to them through the 60s show, and I really enjoyed it. But more importantly, it introduced me to the original source material, the Charles Addams cartoons. Published in the New Yorker around the 30s, his cartoons were like many of the New Yorker cartoons, very adult, and sometimes took a second to figure out. But he had 2 things that helped him stick out. One, they were gothic as hell. Half the time you had to go looking for the joke, and doing so allowed you to take in these beautifully dreary worlds. The second was these reoccurring characters, who at the time didn't have names, but they seemed to represent the traditional nuclear family. Just in a world of horror and darkness.
Yeah.
It was the traditional happy family doing things that wouldn't make a traditional happy family happy. There was a feeling that anything surreal or even magical could happen as long as it had a dark bite to it. It was a great contrast that made for a great show, but like I said, it was a family-friendly show. It wasn't as gritty or adult as the comic because it wasn't allowed to be as gritty or adult as the comic back then.
Thankfully, another fan of the comic was Barry Sonnenfeld,
who made a name as an astounding cinematographer but had never directed a film before. He was handed the script to the Addams family, which he said was terrible.
Barry Sonnenfeld also went on to direct the Men in Black films. 2 out of 3 of them are good. I really don't like the second one at all. But yeah, Sonnenfeld went on to become a very well-regarded film director. And, oh god.
And asked why it wasn't given to someone like Tim Burton or Terry Gilliam. The producer said they said it was terrible, and passed. Which if you've seen some of the scripts they said yes to, that's saying something.
Ugh. Yeah, okay. That is something. Also, Jesus, everyone's so pale in that. And I was like, oh, Barnabas Collins is a vampire. Yeah, I know, but dear God, man.
The producer insisted on Barry because he really liked the Addams family and said if he wasn't going to get a big-time weirdo to make it, he wanted someone that was going to take chances and break the rules because he didn't know all the rules yet. Barry agreed, insisted on a rewrite, and we got,
in my opinion, the most faithful interpretation of those dark as hell cartoons.
The first sign this was going to be the best interpretation of the material was the trailer. Not the teaser, which was cute and again was taken from the Charles Addams strip, but the longer version that starts out like a horror film. And let's be honest, some of the imagery from this could be. It was also accompanied by something very unexpected for a film like this, a PG-13 rating. And keep in mind, this is before PG-13 just meant Thor says 2 dirty words or someone is implied killed off screen.
Yeah, that's the PG-13 had a little bit more of a bite to it back then.
This is hearts can be ripped out and monkey brains can be eaten PG-13.
Yeah.
This is when kids show adaptations could have their main character swear up a storm. Damn! But what makes the film so great is that it's a perfect blending of the TV show and the Charles Addams cartoons. Yes, the characters are pretty similar. For the most part, we'll get to that. And those classic corny one-liners slip their way in.
Dang, you're a handful.
But so much of the focus was on the atmosphere. Much like the comic, you could get lost in the beauty and life that steams from the ugly and dead. So much so that the jokes would sometimes be in the background, allowing you to discover them while you're getting lost in the scenery. Many of the jokes were even taken straight from the drawings.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between these PG-13 jokes and, say, the PG jokes of the family-friendly Addams family properties is that it goes that one step further. Ah, missed! The best example I can give is those old Warner Brothers cartoons. You see characters get squashed by anvils and other heavy objects and they turn out fine. But when they off themselves, that seems a lot darker. Either way, the character still comes back for further shenanigans, but the connection to something more gruesome suddenly brings a more recognizable misery to the joke.
But it's that kind of humor that gives the film its needed edge.
The characters always survive, but what they go through is recognizably gruesome.
Wednesday electrocuting Pugsley is still one of my favorite setups and payoffs because all of a sudden Morticia comes into the room. It's like, children. And then all of a sudden she's like, don't forget. It's like, don't forget to. I forget what it was that Morticia added, but oh my gosh. And also Angelica Houston killed as Morticia. Everyone played their parts so well.
This imagery is so zanily abstract, it's absurd. Where this is so realistically grim, it's unnerving.
I don't know, it's the dark humor that gets me.
Bravo, Pugsley!
At PG-13 Addams, like the original cartoons, isn't afraid to push the envelope. It's a way of saying it's all miserable and terrible, but by recognizing it and embracing it, you can live with it. Maybe even find a positive way to look at it. Which is why the darker the Addams family goes, not only the more funny it gets, but in a strange way, the more inspiring it gets. Like I said, the joke is that they enjoy things that people would find macabre. And by having all the family enjoy it so much, they enjoy being around each other, which, ironically, makes them a very healthy family. Their version of poisoning or chopping up one another is our version of unconventional play, because they always survive and ask for more. Even when they fight, they still love each other and come together as a family in the end.
Not at the
great
dinner
thing
table.
is they don't even have to have any sappy full house music or verbal declaration of that. It's just naturally shown in how they treat each other. Well, in the realms of this fantasy world where you can survive a lot. Their love for each other doesn't need to be said. It's naturally shown.
My own dear brother.
At the center is the actors who are all wonderfully cast and bring the perfect amount of bombastic joy or quiet content.
Even if the story is, admittedly, a little dumb.
It centers around the family, led by Raul Julia as Gomez and Angelica Houston as Morticia, searching for Gomez's long-lost brother, Fester. To try and rob them blind, their accountant sends in a look-alike, played by Christopher Lloyd, to pretend to be Fester, and, wouldn't you know it, by the end it turns out to really be him with amnesia. Yeah, pretty stupid. But the reasons it works is you legit feel the emotions all these characters have for each other.
Also...
Pretty stupid. But the reasons it works is you...
Like, that right there, Fester with the light bulb in his mouth, just so iconic. Also, another thing, one of my favorite pinball machines ever of all time was the Addams Family, I think it was the Addams Family Values one, and it was by Williams, and dude... there was a special edition that was released, it was released first, where it had the electric chair, and Fester was in the electric chair, and if you hit the power circuit underneath Fester enough, it would electrocute him. He wouldn't die, but at the end of the electrocution thing, the board would go dark, and the only thing that would light up was a light bulb that was in Fester's mouth. It was so good. I love that pinball machine so much, but the releases after that removed Fester from the electric chair because apparently people thought that it was offensive and all that. So yeah, even back then, that's just... It makes no sense, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, back to the...
legit feel the emotions all these characters have for each other. It does kind of make sense a psychopath would find himself fitting into this family.
Cyanide. Fester. As if we'd run out.
And even the Addams mock a bit how absurd it is.
How true. Stranger things have happened.
If you
This
can
is
believe
true.
it, there was a version of the script where this was just an imposter and Fester is never found. But they grew to love him so much they accept him as a member of the family. Apparently the cast was so horrified by this that they banded together and said it has to end with him being the real brother. They even insisted that Christina Ricci, who played Wednesday, tell them of their disgust to show how serious they were. Not sure why having a 10-year-old say that shows how legit you are, but I guess the story was going to be forced and convoluted anyway, so...
I think it's because Wednesday, there's characters that are in films, you can't explain it, but they are like the it. They're the it person of the family. And no, I'm not talking about Cousin It. Ha 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 ha, yeah. But they're the it they're like the it person of the family that, I'm not going to say it's final say, but, you know, they're the standout of the family. And for a lot of people, I'll say this. When it comes to which character has penetrated into the zeitgeist the most and has stood the test of time, I would say Wednesday Addams has basically been the one to do that. Even though all the characters are great, and I know that you got at the time you had big name actors, you know, Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, Christopher Lloyd. You had a lot of pretty big name actors portraying these characters, but it was Christina Ricci and her reserved performance as Wednesday, and then Addams Family Values happened, and she just became terrifying. Also, I had the biggest crush on Christina Ricci whenever I was younger. There were several films that came out that, gosh, I forget the names of them, but they just...
Might as well go all the way with it. But even with such a lame premise, everybody was committed to it, and audiences ate it up.
Oh, yeah.
Addams Family was one of the highest-grossing films of 1991, and even broke a long dry spell of underperforming films at the box office, making Barry Sonnenfeld an overnight.
That's another one of my favorite little bits in this film that just works so well. Gomez and his trains. just the train going by with the passenger on it, and you just see Gomez just like just with the cigarette in his mouth, just like, damn, this is some quality shit.
Night name. It's no surprise that only 2 years later a sequel was made. Hey, that's pretty short compared to the Harry Potter schedule. Was it stronger than the first or weaker? Somehow both. I'll tell you after this.
Oh, I got YouTube Premium.
With the same team returning to work on the sequel, Addams Family Values picks up where the last storyline left off, with Morticia giving birth, in the most Morticia way.
Push, Mrs. Addams.
Almost from the beginning, the film wants to assure you it still has the same edge. As some sequels back then were being watered down for a much more kid-friendly audience. They pretty much spit in the face of that right away as Wednesday and Pugsley listen to a girl explain how babies are born from the Cabbage Patch.
And the diamond turned into a baby. Our parents are having a baby, too.
They had sex.
Yes! They didn't put that in the new movies. So where the film does much better is in its writing. Make no mistake, the writing in the first one turned out great, but the story was pretty forced. Here, the story is much funnier and matches what the Addams would see as a threat. In 3 plots, no less. There's one plot about a nanny named Debbie, played hilariously by Joan Cusack. If you're like me to this day, you can't hear her name without thinking,
Malibu Barbie.
Some people didn't. Some people liked this plot. I didn't as much. I really thought the summer camp plot was perfect. But anyway.
She wants to marry Fester and kill him to get his fortune. An old routine, but it leads to some great character moments, as she has to work her way into the family's good side, which is pretty easy seeing how she's also a psychopath.
I just want to grab them and squeeze them till there's not a breath left in their tiny little bodies.
Another plot involves her sending the kids to summer camp because they're getting too close to her plans, where Wednesday falls in love, kind of, to a boy played by David Krumholtz. Many say the best laughs in the movie are here, and I really can't disagree, as seeing them interact off the sunny and upbeat crowd and how it slowly suffocates them is pretty damn...
Perfect acting by Christina Ricci here. Just a slow, like, get me out, let me out, let me out, I want out, let me out right now!
And hilarious.
How long do we have to stay in here? Until we crack.
Also, the wonderfully sadistic camp counselors, played by the great Peter McNichol and just as great Christine Baraski, are fantastic to watch as they try to...
She has not aged a day. She looks exactly the same here as she does today. I don't understand how that's possible. Also, Peter McNichol is a tremendous talent in his own right, and I think deserves so much more recognition than he gets. Also, this is hands down one of my favorite, one of my favorite parts of the film.
Be patient with their chipper mood, but find themselves cracking every once in a while.
Don't we just hate that?
Yes!
Don't we wish they would just die?
Yes!
Oh, no, we don't.
Oh, there are also like a million flavors of prejudice leading to a recital that I'm sure I don't have to play any clips from because it always makes the rounds every Thanksgiving. Screw it, here's a few anyway.
You have taken the land
that was rightfully ours.
My people will have pain and degradation. Your people will have sick ships.
God, that's so good.
Yes.
The third plot involves the baby becoming sick, which to them is the equivalent of looking like the loveliest baby alive.
Oh no. He lives.
Even though this is all still far-fetched, the stories feed into each other and move the film forward. creating more relatable problems that families deal with. Splitting up, not getting enough time with someone, not fitting in, young love, not liking a new family member, not liking two family members, them not liking you back. And sure, I guess some families have someone marrying for other motives, but you get the idea. These are more family-centered problems that people can identify with. And once again, at the heart of it is that you can do or say whatever you want.
Yes. Okay. I will say that the best stuff with Debbie just is actually funny, but I don't know.
To them, but at the end of the day, you break up family, that's where they draw the line. That's when they start to get weak.
You have placed Fester under some strange sexual spell. I respect that. But please, may we see him?
Again.
It's just so good. The writing. It's like, you've placed him under some strange sexual spell. I respect that. But please. Oh, God, so good.
For such demented movies, it's kind of sweet. Fester is allowed to act a lot more like Fester this time, as in the last film he had amnesia and was technically playing an imposter. So it's fun to see Lloyd go much more into the traditional nutball role.
My name's Fester. It means to rot.
I'll admit I like the aunt in the other film a bit more because she felt like a real aunt, where Carol Kane seems more focused on making the joke work. With that said, she does always make the joke work.
Nixel burst and burn.
What is she doing?
Just a goose. Have a nice day.
I also feel a little sorry for Pugsley, played by Jimmy Workman, because I feel like he really got sidelined for Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think the team just didn't know what to do with him, where Richie just stole the show playing Wednesday. So they clearly...
Every time. That's what I was saying. And you hate seeing characters get lost in the shuffle. And I think if you really wanted to work with Pugsley, I think you could do something with him. But, because they actually had some pretty good stuff for him in the first film. The part with the sword fight in the play, I thought it was hilarious how they were doing their thing, and then Wednesday slashed his arm off. His arm literally fell off, and just Pugsley looking over at her and just being like, "Bitch!" just slashes her throat. It was so good. And then, of course, he does the Uncle Fester dress up, which is really good. And is that in the first one or the second one? I forget. But if I were Pugsley, or if I wanted to write Pugsley to have a little bit of something, I would have had him basically, I don't know. Is that you could say, I would say the camp counselors get to him, and make it seem like they get to him, and he betrays Wednesday, but then you find out that he was doing that just to mess with Wednesday even more, and then they finally come together at the end, and then they do their thing. They do their thing where they burn down the camp, which still is one of the funniest moments.
I really liked writing for her more. With that said, when he does have a scene, he makes it count.
When you have a new baby, one of the other children has to die.
Which one?
They only need one boy.
In fact, I think the Girl Scout from the previous film gets more screen time than him. Mercedes
Ouch.
McNabb returns as Amanda Buckman, who I guess was so satisfyingly smug in her bit role in the first movie, they made her one of the villains. And it's a huge compliment to say it's hard to figure out which villain is better, her or Joan Cusack. They are both so hilarious and so psychotic in their own unique ways.
Why are you dressed like somebody died? Wait.
So, okay, the jokes and story are better, so the film should be better, right? Not entirely.
No.
As great as
the
this
pacing.
is, there is one major element missing. The atmosphere. No, it's there. Still plenty of dreary sets and gothic art design, but much like another Sonnenfeld sequel, Men in Black 2, the environment takes a back seat to the jokes. And something is missing when that's done. With the exception of maybe Fester howling at the moon in the opening, every scene has to have a big laugh in it. And yeah, it's a comedy, that should go without saying, but that's not always how the first film worked. There's many scenes where the characters are just being themselves in a surreal and fantastical world, and that's enough. Again, like the comics, sometimes
4.
just letting you breathe in this world, or maybe...
Damn it, Addams! You just hear in the distance, window break. Damn you, Addams! 4. But yeah, I would say environment counts for a lot, and letting the world speak for itself. That's what they did in Men in Black 3, is what made it so much better than the second one, was that they let the environment and the world speak for itself. And I think if they would have done that with the second one, I think it would have been a superior film to the first one. But, oh well.
even die in this world. Gave you a sense of really being there. Look at this scene where they say they're gonna throw Fester a party.
A party? For me? Here.
There's no big laughs to it, but it's so grand and gothic and dripping with the family's
majesty
culture that it somehow adds a lot of weight to it. If the characters weren't well defined, these scenes wouldn't work, but they are. And we like just being with them in this world. In the sequel, we just like being with them. But to be fair, that is kind of enough. In the original, Gomez and Morticia could just dance and that was satisfying. Here, there has to be several jokes going on. It does make sense. It's a follow-up. They want to up the ante, but something is missing when you're focusing a little too much on the writing and not enough on living in the world you created. Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot to mention, there's rap songs in these.
Oh.
I wanted to bring this up because I guess Snoop Dogg voiced Cousin Id in the newer films and, of course, did a rap as him. Because, you know, they like scaring us in as many ways as possible.
You know I never left, that's how I brought it back. But what I want to know is where the party at.
I want to show they could be worked in okay. On top of the MC Hammer song in the end credits, which I can't help but have a soft spot for, there is something funny about having them listen to rap music. It almost seems contradictory for their style, but that's almost what makes sense about it. Everything is contradictory to them. Even Cousin Id is listening to Too Legit to Quit in his car. Back then, that made me laugh so hard because I just loved knowing he was an MC Hammer fan. That was so bizarre.
What's wrong with that? I mean, and Cousin Id, I think, well, Cousin Id is a one-off joke. That's fine. That is perfectly fine and everything. And he's probably my favorite one-off character of the Addams family. And I think just music of the times, because it's pop culture, but yet it's not. I don't know. Some things just work, and it takes it. There's no real explanation as to why it works. But gosh, imagine if they made another one and you had like you had Pugsley and Wednesday learning to drive, and the whole time they were listening to like "Ready to Die" by Notorious B.I.G. or better yet, friggin' Illmatic by friggin' Nas. That'd be even better. Anyway, sorry. Okay, I'll represent West Coast too. The Chronic by Dr. Dre. That would be the one right there.
Him suddenly changing his voice and rapping out of nowhere? Not as much. Also, you gotta love the laziness of switching out "Whoop, there it is" with "Whoop, the Addams family, there it is." I don't care what anyone says, it doesn't beat their masterpiece. Oh, please feel free to Google that to see if I'm lying.
No, that's real. That's real. Oh. The fact that I knew that Gordy, the friggin' movie Gordy, was a sad attempt at trying to one-up the movie Babe, which is a much, much better film. It has so much more heart and so much more spirit to it. And then you got Gordy, which is... God, what an awful film. Such a horrible film. Like, save yourselves. Do not look up Gordy or anything like that. watch Babe, and the sequel, Pig in the City, which is not as good, but still more than worthy of its existence.
I guess I wanted to show there's always been elements of the mainstream in Addams Family that have since become dated, but it still doesn't take away from it. It shows more what a time capsule some parts can be, but the majority of it still keeps true to what it is. No part of it feels like it's cheating us out of what the original style was. Like,
The one to get the party started, plugged and wet.
yeah, you know the drill by this point. With that said, I've seen very little of the Addams Family follow-ups after this. I never checked out the straight-to-video Addams Family reunion. And yes, I do mean video, as there's no DVD release of it.
That's how bad it is.
Good. I will admit, though, Tim Curry was the perfect choice to replace Raul Julia at that point in time. I saw a little bit of the series reboot and honestly thought it captured parts of the original show pretty well.
That's odd. No, that's Cousin It. That's Cousin Odd.
I didn't care too much for the Saturday morning cartoon. Ironically, a little too colorful for me. Maybe if it was in black and white, I don't know. And yeah, I've only seen clips of the animated films and they just don't look like my thing.
They're not. Save yourself, Doug. Don't watch them. They are not worth it.
For me, it's the Charles Addams cartoons or the Sonnenfeld films, because they weren't afraid to be a little meaner, but somehow joyful in their meanness. There's an understanding that life can be very depressing and very dark. It's a part of life we shouldn't always be afraid of, and there is something strangely encouraging about seeing characters who aren't. Yes, it's in a fictional world, and we shouldn't literally do the things that they do because we wouldn't survive them. But their attitude and optimistic demeanor to the scarier side of things is what ultimately draws us to them. That's why I think the more dark it is, the better it is. It is ironic that Burton turned down this movie only decades later to do a different Addams Family project.
Yeah, that's one thing. Because I remember my friends were talking about, oh yeah, the Addams Family movies in the 90s. Yeah, Tim Burton directed them. I'm like, no, he did not. Yeah. I had some friends who said that, oh yeah, Tim Burton directed those. And I was like, how much money you want to lose? And he was so confident, he bet me $10. And then I showed him, like, where's Tim Burton's name? We were going through, like, the Wikipedia article and everything. He searched it up and everything, and I'm like, he paid me the $10. But, just...
I guess we'll see how that turns out. All I can say is, if they capture even a fragment of the creepy, kooky, and mysteriously gooky that these films did, I think we'll be in good hands. Either way, we'll still have these movies to visit the Addams anytime we want. I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember? So you don't have to.
Malibu!
Barbie. That's not what I wanted. Proceeds to murder her parents. Sorry, Deb. We can't afford another house. It wouldn't look good. Ah, an axe. That takes me back. So good. If Raul Julia wouldn't have passed away, if Raul Julia would not have passed away, hold on, Addams. There we are. Addams Family Values. It still made more than twice its budget, and I don't know. Yeah, the final film starring Raul Julia before his death, which... Damn, dude. Damn. It sucks that he went out so... Well, not soon. I mean, he was 54. But he went out whenever he was really starting to, hit his stride as like a mainstream actor. It was... Yeah, stomach cancer. There it is. And you hate to see it. You hate whenever great actors like that are unable to really achieve the heights of their of their potential. And I think if Addams Family if they were going to do a third Addams Family movie, I would say, I would probably say it would. I would love to have seen some more. I would love to have seen more Addams Family with Raul Julia. But we can only look back, and we can only be in awe of what was done. So anyway, I think that's gonna do it. So until next time, everybody, signing off. I'm Nate. I'll see you then. Peace.